I saw the exact second the air changed. I was tucked back in the blind spot of the observation deck, trying to make myself as small as a riveted panel, and truth is, I don't think they even noticed me. It was just the two of them, Envoy Chen and Legate Xylos. The distance between them had collapsed to nothing, just a breath of recycled air, and the low hum of the grav deck beneath our boots. I saw Xylos's hand, that massive obsidian-scaled gauntlet, resting gently on the console right next to Chen's human fingers. He wasn't threatening her, not in that second. He was leaning in, his golden eyes searching hers, looking for the tremor of fear he was so used to inspiring, but he didn't find it. Instead, I saw Chen tilt her head, her pulse visible in the hollow of her throat, steady as a metronome. She looked at him with this terrifying softness, a kind of pity that cut deeper than a blade. The heat radiating off the machinery was stifling, but she didn't sweat. She just held his gaze, and for a moment the galaxy felt very, very small. To understand why that quiet moment made my chest tight, though, you have to go back to the start of the session. 10 minutes earlier, the room was loud, violent with light. Xylos was pacing, his ceremonial cape sweeping the polished floor, lecturing us on the stellar anchor protocol. He loved the sound of his own voice. He projected a hologram that filled the room, 40 glowing star systems, a web of blue light that looked like a cage. He pointed to Earth, a single lonely white dot in the vast dark. "Survival isn't a protocol," he said, his voice rumbling through the floorboards like a distant engine engaging. "It is a diaspora. You are small, static, a single point of failure." I watched Chen. She didn't flinch. She just stood there in her simple gray flight suit, hands clasped behind her back, watching the blue light wash over her face. She looked tired, maybe, but alert. Xylos moved closer then, invading her personal space. He was trying to intimidate her, using his height, his history. He spoke of the Concordat's armada, how they had crushed civilizations older and prouder than ours. He laid out the terms on the glass table between them. Slavery. They called it service integration, but look, we all knew the smell of a shackle, no matter how much they polished it. The tension in the room spiked. Xylos stopped pacing and stood right in front of her. This is where it got complicated, because it wasn't just hate. I saw the way he looked at her fragility, at the soft skin that could bruise so easily. He reached out, almost touching a stray lock of hair near her ear, a gesture that was shockingly tender for a death sentence. It was the arrogance of a predator playing with food, but there was a strange intimacy to it. "We offer you purpose," Xylos whispered, and the sound was like grinding stones. "You are alone in the dark, little envoy. We are the light." Chen looked up. She didn't step back. She stepped in. I held my breath. The smell of ozone from the projectors was sharp, metallic, mixing with the scent of the tea Chen had been drinking earlier. She placed her hand on the table, right over the controls, her skin pale against the dark glass. "You think we're alone because you're only looking at the light you created," she said softly. Her voice wasn't angry. It was almost sad. "But true leverage comes from preparation, Legate, not posturing." She tapped the console. Just once. I swear for a second I thought the projector had malfunctioned. The blue light that had been painting the room in cool, arrogant tones flickered, then shattered. It was replaced by a warm, blinding amber that flooded the observation deck, washing over Envoy Chen and Legate Xylos like a sudden sunrise. I saw Xylos flinch. It was the first time I'd ever seen a Concordat Legate recoil. His hand, which had been resting so possessively near hers, jerked back as if the console had burned him. The hologram expanded. It didn't just fill the table anymore. It punched through the ceiling limiters. The 40 systems of the Concordat that Cage Xylos had been so proud of were still there, pulsing in the center. But they were drowning. Surrounding them, enveloping them in a perfect, suffocating sphere, were over 80 distinct points of amber light. Each one represented a thriving frontier world, a colony, a fortress. Humanity wasn't the single dot Xylos had mocked. We were the net. I watched Chen. She hadn't moved. She hadn't gloated. She just stood there, bathed in the gold light of 80 worlds, looking up at him with that same unnerving gentleness. Your map is missing a few billion dots, she whispered. The air in the room felt electrified, charged with the sudden shift in gravity. Xylos looked at the display, his golden eyes wide, the slit pupils fully dilated in shock. He traced the line of human worlds that cut off his trade routes, the clusters that sat silently on his borders. I saw the realization hit him, not as a tactical failure, but as a personal unraveling. The creature he had tried to pet was actually a wolf. How? Xylos breathed. It wasn't a demand. It was a plea. Survival isn't a protocol, Jen answered, repeating his own words back to him, but softer, kinder. It's a quiet work. We didn't come to join you, Legate. We came to see who was in our backyard. I saw the fight leave him. His shoulders, usually so broad and rigid under his armor, slumped just an inch. The threat of the Armada, the slavery terms, the arrogance it, all evaporated under the heat of those amber lights. He looked at Chen, really looked at her, and I think for the first time he saw an equal, maybe even a superior. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of possibilities, vibrating with the hum of the cooling projectors. Jen reached out then. She bridged the gap he had created when he pulled away. She placed her hand gently over his gauntlet, skin against cold metal, reclaiming the intimacy but on her terms. So, she said, her voice steady, no malice to be found. You are surrounded. My fleet is already holding position in 6 of your sectors. We can open the borders, Legate, share the charts. Or, she shrugged, a tiny human gesture that felt incredibly loud. We can finish this map the way you started it. I saw Xylos turn his hand over slowly until his palm met hers. It was surrender, but it looked a lot like respect. Alliance, he murmured, the word tasting strange in his mouth. I leaned back against the wall, finally letting my breath out. Truth is, I don't think they ever knew I was there, but I saw it. I saw the moment the universe got a little bit bigger, not with a bang, but with a whisper.